Shalom and good evening, everyone. I first like to bid a shalom to the bride of the Messiah, a shalom to the 144,000, and a shalom to the nation of Israel. Tonight word shall be, what shall be the end of the days? This is a message addressing to the Israelites, the Gentiles, America/Babylon, heathens, etc. Just give me a few minutes, family. I need to check out a couple of things before we start this evening. But as I'm getting some things addressed, I first want to thank YAHUAH. In the name of Yahrushalem, Father, I thank you this evening for stirring my spirit to read the books of Baruch. For you will see tonight, my brothers and sisters, that this book is in the season now for us to read full of the events that are taking place in the heavens and in the earth. Okay? When you check the video description box, you will see the link to the book of Baruch that we shall read tonight. We shall go to 2nd Baruch. But most importantly, I want you to make sure you hear YAHUAH prophetic messages. There are 7 messages in that video playlist that you can print out those messages and share with your family and friends, for he is speaking. He is giving us instructions, Israelites and Gentiles, on what to do in this time that we are in now. Also, there's other video playlists that relate to the season that we are in to prepare you for what is coming. Okay, almost done. Let me see here. Go to okay, now we can begin. I'm going to open up with a verse. And the verse I'm going to open up with comes from Ben Sirah. This is the book listed in the Apocrypha. Today they call it Ecclesiasticus. We're going to go to chapter 18. Look at verse 27. Verse 27. A wise man with fear in everything, and in the days of sinning, he would be aware of offense. But a fool will not observe time. I'm going to repeat this again because this scripture relates to what we're going to review tonight, because now we're going to see an importance of why we have those who keep a record of time. For those who are keeping a record of time, you begin to see the connection between the carnal and the spiritual. And through that relationship, you begin to hear the spiritual messages and understand the spiritual mysteries. For those that are keeping a record of time, it does relate to what the Messiah has instructed us to do, O bride. What did he say unto us? We must what? Watch and pray. So keeping a record of time, which is keeping the Most High calendar and a record of certain biblical events, as well as the events of today, you will see how the Bible is unfolding before your eyes. And you will begin to understand the Messiah's messages, as well as the prophets and the prophecies that are given by them. So read verse 27 again. This comes from Ben Sirah, chapter 18, known as Ecclesiasticus. Verse 27. A wise man with fear in everything, and in the day of sinning, he would be aware of offense. So a wise man will what? Immediately repent when his transgression is revealed unto him. But come and hear what a fool does. A fool will not observe time. Again, A fool would keep going on from day to day, not repenting, thinking that the Most High is not watching, thinking that he does not exist. That what a fool would do. He would be caught off guard. So when the Messiah returned, a fool will receive the judgments that would come from our Father from heaven above. Okay? So now we're going to change screens, and now we'll go to the book of Baruch. We're going to look at 2nd Baruch this evening. And that link is provided in the video description box. And we're going to reflect on the title again. Okay? Okay, we're going to reflect on the title. Now we will be reading up to the way it's numbered to number 40. I know it's a lot of material, but when the Father had me to review it, we have to read it. A lot is being said, and he's giving a greater understanding about him, why these things are happening unto us Israelites, what it shall bring forth, and what the Father is doing in the time of him visiting the earth now, because we can see the signs, okay, such as hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. We have fires. We have a plague going on known as the coronavirus, and many other things that are happening in the earth. He is visiting the earth now. That's one of the greatest signs that was given unto the high priest Ezra, okay, which go in hand with Mathew chapter 24. Another great sign that is taking place in the earth among Adam, which is mankind, we can see civil unrest. Civil unrest. All right. So we reflect on the title of this video. The title says, what will, oh, okay, I need to update my title. What will befall at the end of days? And I'm going to edit that right now. So can I edit it? That title. What shall befall at the end of days? Okay. What shall befall at the end of days? And let me copy that so we can have that in the comment section. So I want you to meditate on that title, because the Father has given unto one of his prophets the signs or the events that shall take place. Okay. Put that in the comment section. And it falls in this generation. It is taking place now. All right. So now let us begin. We have a lot of material to review and to read. 2nd Baruch, the book of the Apocalypse of Baruch, the son of Neriah. Chapter 1. Announcement of the coming destruction of Yahrushalem to Baruch. I did forget to mention this. This is the book that will give you the greater understanding on why Yahrushalem had to be destroyed. You will get the understanding with the first and second desolation of Yahrushalem that the world called today Jerusalem. Okay, it's going to give you a greater understanding why the Father allowed his sacred city to be destroyed. Okay, first time was by the Babylonians, the ancient Babylonians, and the second time is by the Romans. Also, the Father is bringing this to my attention in the video description box. For those who are new, who are learning the Most High Calendar, you can click on the link in the video description box to have access to that calendar, and you can see the biblical events, like the highlights, so you can understand why it's so important for us to look at that, because it does relate to this generation. Okay. Second Baruch chapter 1, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 25th year of Jeconiah, king of Yehudah, that the word of YAHUAH came to Baruch, the son of Neriah, and said to him, Have you seen all that this people are doing to me? That the evils which these two tribes, which remain, have done are greater than those of the 10 tribes which were carried away captive. For the former tribes were forced by their kings to commit sin. Do you hear that, Israelites? When you look at the northern kingdom, it says here that they was forced by their kings to commit sins. But when you look at the southern kingdom, it goes on to say, but these two of themselves have been forcing and compelling their kings to commit sin. So with this kingdom, the southern kingdom, the opposite took place. The people was forcing their kings to commit sin. Another book to read about this is in the book of Jeremiah. Look at chapter 7, I believe. But let us continue to read. Verse 4. For this reason, behold, I bring evil upon this city and upon its inhabitants, and it shall be removed from before me for a time. And I will scatter this people among the Gentiles, that they may do good to the Gentiles. And my people shall be chastened, and the time shall come when they will seek for the prosperity of their times. Now, what is written in this paragraph is also dealing with us now, today. And you probably wondering, what did Baruch mean what did the Father mean that we would do good to the Gentiles? Will you understand the mystery that was given unto Daniel chapter 12, where he said, I will scatter the power of the holy people. Again, the Father had a plan within the plan to draw the sons of Adam back unto him, to prepare a people that would be ready when the Messiah returned to establish his church at Zion. Like I said, y'all, it's a great plan that the Father has that's taking place. Again, this relates to all the books that I've been going on with you, from the sealed Book of Mormon to the Bible, Jubilees, Jasper, Josephus, and many others. The books of Baruch is going to connect all the dots. So this is a verse here you want to highlight, because he goes on to say what the Israelites will be chastened. Okay, chastened, and we know what that chasten is going to bring forth. Again, the prophet Daniel talks about this. Okay, but let us continue to read, and we'll talk more about this further in this video. Then we're going to look at chapter 2, verse 1. For I have said these things to you, that you may bid Jeremiah and all those that are like you to retire from the city. For your words are to this city as a firm pillar, and your prayers as a strong wall. And I said, O Yahuwah, my Lord, have I come into the world for this purpose, that I might see the evils of my mother? Now remember, what to understand what Baruch is talking about here about the mother. We read that in a video dealing with the book of Baruch that's in the Apocrypha. In the video description box, there's the video link for you to go back and review, but it's in Baruch chapter 4, okay, to understand who Baruch was talking about in relation to his mother. Let us continue to read. Not so, my Lord. If I have found grace in your sight, first take my spirit that I may go to my fathers, and not behold the destruction of my mother. For two things vehemently constrain me, for I cannot resist you, and my soul, moreover, cannot behold the evils of my mother. But one thing I would say in your presence, O Yahuwah. What? Therefore, will there be after these things? For if you destroy your city and deliver up your land to those that hate us, how shall the name of Israel be again remembered? Or how shall one speak of your praises? Or to whom shall that which is in your law be explained? Or shall the world return to its nature of aforetime, and the age revert to primitive silence? And shall the multitude of souls be taken away, and the nature of man not again be named? And where is all that which you did say regarding us? So as you see here, Baruch is asking questions that we are asking today, okay? For those who are awakened and understand who you are, okay? Because there's two parts to understanding who you are. When we look at the Israelites, it's very important to know that you are an Israelite because you have an inheritance. Now, this inheritance I'm talking about is something greater than what you've been taught by the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians of today. You have a great inheritance, for you have a great responsibility among the sons of Adam. Okay, and you can see Baruch is asking very important questions because what he's asked, Father, if you take all this away, what would be left in the earth to lead those back unto you? You know, who would give you your honor and your glory? Okay, now let us look at chapter 4, verse 1. Oh, another thing. And some of y'all can probably feel like the way Baruch feel. You don't want to be here. You don't want to see these evils because we have the understanding what's really coming. Many don't have this understanding. But those who have spent time with the Father and been under the Spirit, we truly see what's going on. And I'm like, we don't really want to be here for that. But as you grow with Him and you go through this journey with Him, you understand why these things have to take place and why we must be here. Okay, let's keep going. Chapter 4, verse 1. And YAHUAH said unto me, this city shall be delivered for a time, and the people shall be chastened during a time, and the world will not be given over to oblivion. Okay? Then we're going to the heavenly Jerusalem. Doest you think that this is that city of which I said, on the palms of my hand I had graven you? This building now built in your midst is not that which is revealed with me, that which prepared beforehand here from the time when I took counsel to make paradise and showed Adam before he sinned. But when he transgressed the commandment, it was removed from him, as also paradise. Now that chapter you want to highlight because the Father is giving you a deep mystery, something that you may not been aware of, but it's in the scriptures, but it has to be revealed into you by the Spirit. Now, when we look at this subtitle, it's saying what the heavenly Yahrushalem. Since the beginning of time, the Father had a heavenly place, okay, that was prepared. And we also see that He's revealing you information about paradise as well. But what changed that or kept that from being revealed unto us was when our forefather Adam sinned. So paradise was removed as well as this heavenly city was removed. Okay? Something to meditate and think on, which is going to bring you to understanding that what was destroyed was not the city. It was not the place that the Father created to be in the earth. All right? If you understand what I'm saying. Let me take you to the book of Hebrews. I'm not going to change my screens, but to save time, I want you to go to the book of Hebrews because there are scriptures in here that will confirm what I'm saying unto you, as well as the sealed book of Mormon, I'm talking about the seal book. I'm not talking about the Book of Mormon, but there's a seal book that is out now. So when you look at Hebrews chapter, we're going to go to chapter 12 first, then we go to chapter 11. When we go to chapter 12, when you look at verse 22, it says, "But ye are come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Yahrushalem, and to an innumerable company of angels." This is the verse to confirm what Baruch is telling you. This city was built or already prepared. What's the word I'm looking for? Not built or prepared. This city was always established since the beginning of time. Okay? Now, when we go to Hebrews 11, notice what our father Abraham was also, notice what our father Abraham knew. Okay? When we look at Hebrews 11, we can go to verse 13. And we're going to read down to 16. There you go. Let's see here. We're going to start at verse 13. "These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off." Do y'all hear that? They seen the, okay, I'm sorry. They believe in faith. They didn't actually see these promises, okay, but have seen them afar off. This is letting you know that this place that they believed in, or the place of inheritance that they receive, this is in a different realm, in a different place. So I'm going to read that again. "These all died in faith, not having received the promises," okay, "but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth." See, they had a greater understanding that this place is not their home. This is not the final, okay? They had a great understanding of the new beginning that was to come, that was the Father original plan for Adon. Let us continue to read. Verse 14. "For they that said such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they have been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have to have returned. But now they desire a better country that is in heavenly." Do you hear that? The country that they desire in their heart, was heavenly. It was not upon the earth, y'all. It was in the heavens. Let us continue to read verse 16, Hebrews 11. "Wherefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for thee a city." That is to confirm what we just read, okay, in this paragraph. So I'm going to reread, starting at the beginning. "Doest you think that this is the city of which I said, on the palms of my hand have I graven you? This building now built in your midst is not that which is revealed with me, that which prepared beforehand, here from the time when I took counsel to make paradise." So this place was prepared beforehand at the time when he took counsel to make paradise, "and show Adam before he sinned." So Adam saw this place, y'all. "But when he transgressed the commandment, it was removed from him, as also paradise." Oh my God. The Father is revealing me another revelation of what he means by that. If you understand the true and the true image of Adam, then you can understand what Adam saw. Okay? Remember, we're made in their image. All right, let's keep going. "And after these things I saw it to my servant Abraham by night, among the portions of the victims. And again, also I showed it to Moses on Mount Sinai. Remember when Moses came to the wilderness of Sinai, which was where Mount Sinai was, and he brought him on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Moses was taken to heavenly places. Okay, he was shown great things. You can read the book of Jubilees and you can see it. All right, it's there. Also, the sealed book of Mormon, the sealed book, not Book of Mormon, the sealed book. All right. And again, also I showed it to Moses on Mount Sinai when I showed to the likeness of the tabernacle and all its vessels. And now behold, it is preserved with me as paradise. So this holy city, the heavenly Jerusalem, is preserved with our Father in heaven as well as paradise. Okay. Go therefore and do as I command you. So we're going to look at Baruch complaint and YAHUAH reassurance. And I answered and said, so then I am destined to grieve for Zion, for your enemy will come to this place and pollute your sanctuary, and lead your inheritance into captivity, and make themselves masters of those whom you have loved. And they will depart again to the place of their idols, and will boast before them. And what will you do for your great name? And YAHUAH said unto me, my name and my glory are unto all eternity. Do you hear that, Israelites and Gentiles? Despite of his people going into captivity, despite of his holy city being desolated, his name will still be great for all eternity. And his glory will still prevail unto all eternity. Okay, let us continue to read. And my judgment shall maintain its right in its own time, and you shall see with your eyes that the enemy will not overthrow Zion, nor shall they burn Yahrushalem, but be the ministers of the judge for the time. But do you go and do whatsoever I had said unto you? I went and took Jeremiah and Adu and Syria and Jabesh and Jeddah and Jedaliah and all the honorable men of the people, and I led them to the valley of Kidron, and I narrated to them all that had been said to me. And they lifted up their voice, and they all wept, and we sat there and fasted until the evening. So here the Father is revealing something great unto us, y'all. He's telling us about his plan. Where we think is evil, or where we think it is over, it is not over. It is the beginning of what is to come, and it will work out to the good of Yah. So now we shall continue to read. This is looking at the invasion of the Chaldeans and their entrance into the city after the sacred vessels were hidden, and the city walls overthrown by angels. And it came to pass on the morrow that, lo, the army of the Chaldees surrounded the city. At the time of the evening, I, Baruch, left the people, and I went forth and stood by the oak. I was grieving over Zion, and lamenting over the captivity which had come upon the people. And lo, suddenly a strong spirit raised me, and bore me aloft over the wall of Yahrushalem. And I beheld, and lo, 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the city, each of them holding a torch of fire in his hands. And another angel began to descend from heaven, and said unto them, hold your lamps, and do not light them till I tell you. For I am the first sent to speak a word to the earth, and to place in it what YAHUAH, the Most High has commanded me. And I saw him descend into the Holy of Holies and take from there the veil and holy ark and the mercy seat and the 2 tables and the holy raiments of the priests and the altar of incense and the 48 precious stones wherewith the priests was adorned, and all the holy vessel of the tabernacle. And he spoke to the earth with a loud voice. So notice here in this paragraph, notice what the Father is doing. He is sending his angels from heaven. And this angel was given the assignment to go in the Holy of Holies. If you understand what the Holy of Holies is, the Holy of Holies represents our Father's throne room. Okay? And there in the tabernacle, in the days of Jeremiah, in the days of King Zechariah, okay? This angel went into the holiest of holies and removed the sacred things. And now we're going to see what would be done with these sacred things, because this is going to show you a future prophecy that will come forth. Okay? So he spoke to the earth with a loud voice. Earth, 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 hear the word of the mighty YAHUAH, and receive what I commit to you, and guard them until the last times. Do you hear that, Israelites and Gentiles? Highlight that. He said he telling the earth to guard them until the last times, so that when you are ordered, you may restore them, so that strangers may not get possession of them. Do you see what the Father's doing? He's always a step ahead of the Gentiles. No Gentile's going to profane his sacred things. Okay? For the time comes when Yahrushalem also will be delivered for a time, until it is said that it is again restored forever. Okay? So as we look at the biblical history of Jerusalem, we can already see that has come to pass. It's coming now to its fullness, and soon the Yahrushalem will be established to be what? Forever. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up. So right now the earth have these sacred things and are protecting these sacred things, waiting for the day to come. I want you to read Jeremiah chapter 3, and I think it's 2nd Maccabees chapter 2, because it's going to tell you when the Father's going to bring back these sacred things. Okay? And after these things, I heard that angel saying unto the angels who held the lamps, destroy therefore and overthrow its wall to its foundation, lest the enemy should boast and say, do y'all hear how our Father is in heaven? Is he not jealous? For the angel go on to say, for the angel go on to reveal what the enemy may say. We have overthrown the wall of Zion. We have burnt the place of the mighty YAHUAH, and they have seized the place where I have been standing before. So he is jealous for Yahrushalem, for Zion, and he don't want no one to be above him or to boast. So he sent his angels to do that. Okay? So the enemy could not rejoice or boast. Okay? Now the angels did as he had commanded them. When they had broken up the corners of the walls, a voice was heard from the interior of the temple after the wall had fallen, saying, enter, you enemies, and come, you adversaries, for he who kept the house has forsaken it. So the Father's letting the enemy know, I allowed you to come in there, not by your hand, but by my hand. Tell you, our Father is very particular how things should happen. No one would be above him. He would let them know that all is under him. Okay. And I, Baruch, departed. And it came to pass after these things that the army of the Chaldees entered and seized the house and all that was about it. And they led the people away captive and slew some of them, and bound Zechariah the king and sent him to the king of Babylon. Okay. First fast of 7 days, Baruch to remain amid the ruins of Yahrushalem, and Jeremiah to accompany the exile to Babylon. Baruch dirge over Yahrushalem. And it came to pass after 7 days that the word of YAHUAH came to me and said unto me, Tell Jeremiah to go and support the captivity of the people unto Babylon. But do you remain here amid the desolation of Zion? And I will show to you after these days what will befall at the end of days. Do y'all hear that? This book now is going to reveal unto you what shall befall at the end of days, and that is the season we are in now. And I said to Jeremiah, as YAHUAH commanded me, and he indeed departed with the people. But I, Baruch, returned and sat before the gates of the temple, and I lament with the following lamentation over Zion, and said, Blessed is he who was not born, or he who having been born has died. But as for us who live, woe unto us, because we see the affliction of Zion. And what has befallen Yahrushalem? And I will call the sirens from the sea. And you, Lilin, come you from the desert. And you, Shadim, and dragons from the forests. Shadim means, it's a Hebrew word for spirits or demons. Awake and gird up your loins unto morning, and to take up with me the dirge, and make lamentation with me. Ye husbands, sow not again, and, O earth, will forgive you your harvest fruits. Keep within you the sweets of your substance, and thou, vine, why further do you give your wine? For an offering will not again be made from there in Zion, nor will first fruits again be offered. And do ye, O heavens, withhold your dew, and open not the treasures of rain. And do thou, O sun, withhold the light of your rays. And do thou, O moon, extinguish the multitude of your light. For why should light rise again? The light of Zion is darkened, and you bridegrooms, enter not in. Let not the brides adore themselves with garlands. And you women, pray not that you may bear, for the barren shall above all rejoice, and those who have no sons shall be glad, and those who have sons shall have anguish. For why should they bear in pain, only to bury in grief? This is how painful it was for Baruch to see the desolation of Zion. When you get a chance, my brothers and sisters, as you go back and read all these words, reflect on what he's saying, because we can relate to this in this time. Look at the pains and the anguish we are bearing in these captivities. Okay? Oh, why, again, should mankind have sons? Or why should the seed of that kind again be named, where this mother is desolate, and her sons are led into captivity? But this time for it speak not of beauty, and the scorn not of gracefulness. Moreover, you priests, take you the kings of the sanctuary, and cast them into the height of heaven, and give them to YAHUAH, and say, Guard your house thyself, for lo, we are found false stewards. And you virgins, who weave fine linen, and sew with the gold of Ophir, take with haste all these things, and cast them into the fire, that it may bear them to him who made them. and the flames sent them to him who created them, lest the enemy get possession of them. So now we can see a vivid picture of how bad the desolation, this first desolation was unto Yahrushalem, and how bad our people had to endure the captivity among the Babylonians. It was a very sad time. So sad that it was better to not be alive during that time. And some of us may feel the same way now. But as we read further in this book, we're going to begin to understand it. We're going to begin to get the greater understanding how great it is to bear the long suffering, which is a fruit of the Spirit. You're going to see what our Father shall reveal unto you tonight. Let us keep reading. Moreover, I, Baruch, say this against you, Babylon, if you have prospered and Zion had dwelt in her glory, yet the grief to us have been great that you should be equal to Zion. Do you hear that? Baruch is talking to the ancient Babylon, which is no different today. The ancient Babylon, he goes on to say that it was equal to Zion as far as the glory of it. And we can see how great America has become. Now we're going to hear what else he has to say regarding this. But now, lo, the grief is infinite, and the lamentations measureless. For lo, you are prospered, and Zion desolate. Is not America, which is Babylon, prosperous, greater than any other nation in our time? And yet Zion today still remains desolate. To get a more understanding about what I'm talking about, the desolation of Zion, I want you to go to the channel to get understanding about the two Yahushalems. One is known as the Yahrushalem of the Amorites, and the other one is known as the Yahrushalem of the Jebusites. Let us keep reading. Father, want me to remind you, the location of the Jerusalem of the Jebusites should be desolate. Just as the Messiah said what condition she would be in. She would be desolate. Okay? Who would be judged regarding these things? Or to whom shall we complain regarding that which has befallen us? O YAHUAH, have you borne it? Our fathers went to rest without grief. And lo, the righteous sleep in the earth in tranquility. For they knew not this anguish, nor yet have they heard of that which hath befallen us. Would that you have ears, O earth, and that you have a heart, O dust, that you might go and announce in Sheol and say to the dead, blessed are you more than we who live. Again, he's letting you know how bad it is during that time to be alive, to see the destruction of Yahrushalem. But I would say this as I think, and I would speak against you, O land, which art prospering. The noonday does not always burn, nor do the rays of the sun constantly give light. Do not expect land, hope that you will always be prosperous and rejoicing. Do you hear that, Babylon of today? The same for the ancient Babylon shall be same for you. Do you hear that, America? Be not greatly uplifted and boastful, for as surely in its own season shall the divine wrath awake against you. His wrath is coming for you, America, which now in long suffering is held in, as it were, by rains. Second fast, revelation as to the coming judgment on the heathen. Do you hear this, heathens? This is a message unto you. Judgment is coming. And when I had said these things, I fasted 7 days. And it came to pass after these things that I, Baruch was standing upon Mount Zion, and lo, a voice from the height and said unto me, a voice from heaven said unto him, y'all, stand upon your feet, Baruch, and hear the word of the mighty YAHUAH. Because you have been astonished at what has befallen Zion, you shall therefore be assuredly preserved to the consummation of times. Do you hear that? What the Father is saying to Baruch, Israelites and Gentiles? He shall be preserved to the consummation of times, to the completion of times, so that he can be what? So that he can be for a testimony. So that if even those prosperous cities say, why have the mighty YAHUAH brought upon us this retribution? Now, this is what the cities of today going to be questioning. They're not going to even understand why these judgments going to come upon them. Okay? Now, when we look at the word retribution, it means a punishment inflicted on someone as vengeance for a wrong or criminal act. Now, we can see, for example, we're going to look at America. America's so prideful and boastful, she cannot see the wrongful acts she has committed upon the Most High people. She cannot see the transgression she has committed against the Most High by spreading out her doctrines, okay? By making the world drink from her cup, making them drunk with her wine. Also, she has killed the saints of the Most High. So she has a great retribution that is upon her, okay? And so in that designated time, Baruch is going to be a testimony. He's going to testify against these cities when that time comes, right? Say you to them, you and those like you who shall have seen this evil. This is the evil and retribution which is coming upon you and upon your people in this destined time, that the nations may be thoroughly smitten, and then they shall be in anguish. And if they say at that time, for how long will you say to them? For how long? You would say to them, ye have drunk the strained wine. Drink you also of its dregs. The judgment of the lofty one who has no respect of persons. So the Most High will have judgment against them, y'all, for partake of this wickedness, okay? For this retribution that is upon them. On this account, he aforetime no mercy on his own sons, but afflicted them as his enemies because they sinned. Do you hear that, Israelite? The Father's making this clear. If I had no mercy on my own sons, he's letting him know he's going to do the same to them. Then therefore were they chastened, that they might be sanctified. Now this verse here, Israelites, you want to highlight because the Father is revealing you the plan within the plan on why you was punished or why you was chastened, okay? He's revealing a plan within the plan. So you want to highlight that. So I want to read this again. The Father is speaking to the heathen nations and telling them, he afflicted the Israelites as his enemy because they sinned. Then therefore were they chastened, that they might be sanctified. Do you see what the Father is doing upon you, Israelites? He's doing a great work upon you. Do not allow this captivity to make you bitter, because the bitterness will harden your heart, and you cannot hear what the Spirit is saying to you. For the Spirit shall what? Sanctify you. The Spirit shall make you become white. The Spirit shall lead you to eternal life, so you can receive your inheritance. Okay? Let us keep reading. But now you peoples and nations, you are guilty. Do you hear that? Gentile nations, he's speaking unto you now. He said you are guilty. And he's going to tell you why you are guilty. Because you have always trodden down the earth and used the creation unrighteously, but have always benefited you, and you have always been ungrateful for the beneficence. And forgive me for mispronouncing that word. So he's telling you of your wrongs. Do you hear that, O nations of the Gentiles? For when you understand the history of Adam, before the flood and after the flood, you will see he has a judgment upon you. Okay? What I love about my Father, he is a righteous judge. He is fair. He is no respect of persons. So he has given you Gentiles an example. If he did it to his own people, who are the children of Israel, what makes you not think he won't do it unto you? Do not take his quietness as saying he doesn't care. Do not take his quietness as saying he's not watching. He's watching. But he's very wise on how he deals with the unrighteous. Remember, he always has a plan within a plan. Okay, now we're going to read this next section. The righteousness of the righteous has profited neither them nor their city. YAHUAH's judgments are incomprehensible. The world was made for the righteous, yet day pass and the world remains. Answer: man knows YAHUAH's judgment and has sinned willingly. This world is weariness to the righteous, but the next is theirs. You want to highlight that. This whole paragraph you want to highlight is telling you what shall come forth. Okay? So this world is a weariness to the righteous, but the next is there. So the next word to come is for the righteous. The righteous shall be ruling. So the next is theirs, to be won through character, whether a man's time here be long or short. Do you hear that, Israelite and Gentile? Whether your life be long or short on this earth, however you live this life will determine your life in the next. Final will or woe, the supreme question. Let us read. And I answered and said, Lo, you have shown me the methods of the times, that which shall be after these things. You have said unto me that the retribution which had been spoken by you shall come upon the nations. Do you hear that, Gentiles? It's coming. And now I know that those who have sinned are many, and they have lived in prosperity and departed from the world. But the few nations will be left in those times. See, a great change is about to take place in this judgment now. Many people are going to die, and only a few nations going to be left. To whom those words shall he said, I'm sorry, I'm going to read this correctly. But the few nations will be left in those times, to whom those words shall he said, which you did say. For what advantage is there in this? Or what evil, worse than what we have seen befall us, are we to expect to see? Okay. So when we look at this paragraph again, I want to point out, we often question, why is it that the wicked live in prosperity? Again, when you truly understand this plan, what is taking place to earth, them living in prosperity should not matter to you anymore. You will begin to see what this world really is. And the things that are gained are in vain. Which will bring us to this paragraph. Okay? But again, I would speak in your presence. What have they profited who had knowledge before you, and have not walked in vanity as the rest of the nations, and had not said to the dead, give us life, but always feared you, and had not left your ways, and lo, they have been carried off, nor on their account had you had mercy on Zion. And if others did evil, it was due to Zion, that on account of the works of those who wrought good works, she should be forgiven, and should not be overwhelmed on the account of the works of those who wrought unrighteousness. But who, O YAHUAH, my Lord, will comprehend your judgment? So who will comprehend our Father's judgment? Or who would search out the profoundness of your way? Or who would think out the weight of your path? Or who would be able to think out your incomprehensible counsel? Or who of those that are born has ever found the beginning or end of your wisdom? The question he's asking is making you really think, y'all, here, to give you understanding about our Father in heaven. But many of you do not know who he is and what he is capable of. But let us go on to read. For we have all been made like a breath. For as the breath ascends involuntary and again dies, so it is with the nature of men, who depart not according to their own will, and know not what will befall them in the end. For the righteous just hope for the end. Do y'all hear that? Because y'all, I can relate. We hope for the end because we know what will come after the end. Okay? For the righteous just hope for the end, and without fear depart from this habitation. See, when you truly understand the Father, and you have submitted yourself unto him, you do not fear death, for you know death is the beginning of what yet to come. Let us go on to read. Because they have with you a store of words preserved in treasures. This is why the Messiah says, seek ye the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. Everything that we do upon this earth, when we look at our life, our character, shall what? Shall build us great things that would be preserved for us, Israelites and Gentiles, in the kingdom to come. So why do we want to focus on the things of this world? Why do we get caught up with the wicked and their prosperity, when we know these things will be put to an end? But let us keep reading. On this account also, these without fear leave this world, and trusting with joy they hope to receive the world which you have promised them. Do you hear that? The righteous shall inherit this the righteous shall inherit the new world, the new kingdom to come. This is why they get their crowns. I want you to read 2 Ezra chapter 2, along with Revelations chapter 7. There's a great reward for the righteous who bear the fruit of long suffering. Okay? Only the wise will understand this. All right. But as for us, woe to us who also are now shamefully entreated, and at the time look forward only to evils. But you know accurately what you have done by the means of your servants, for we are not able to understand that which is good as you art, our Creator. But again I will speak in your presence, O YAHUAH, my Lord. When of old there was no world with its inhabitant, you did devise and speak with a word, and forthwith the works of creation stood before you. And that is so true. When he spoke it, it was created before him. And you did say that you wouldst make for your world man as the administrator of your works. He put man to be what? Over his creations in the earth, that it might be known that he was by no means made on account of the world, but the world on account of him. Again, the world was made for Adam. And now I see that as for the world, which was made on account of us, lo, it abides. But we, on account of whom it was made, depart. And Yahuwah answered and said unto me, so now our Father is speaking unto Baruch in response to what he said. Yahuwah says, you are rightly astonished regarding the departure of man, but you have not judged well regarding the evils. So our Father in heaven is pointed out to Baruch what he overlooks. Remember, our Father hears all and sees all. So this is something you want to underline. He said unto Baruch, but you have not judged well regarding the evils which befall those who sin. And as regards what you have said, that the righteous are carried off and the impious are prospered. Okay? I'm just trying to find my spot. Hold on for 1 second, y'all. So when we look at the word impious, it means not showing respect or reverence unto the Most High Yah. In other words, they have no respect for him. Okay? And as regards what you have said, man knows not your judgment. On this account, hear, and I will speak to you, and hearken, and I will cause you to hear my words. Man would not rightfully have understood my judgment. Do you hear that, Israelites and Gentiles? Because even this day we don't understand his judgments. We don't understand why these things are happening, because if we understand these things, we would see the greater mysteries that are revealed unto us. For a lot of us are still caught up in the flesh. We're not giving ear to the Spirit. So our Father in heaven goes on to say, man would not rightfully have understood my judgment unless he had accepted the law. Do y'all hear that? So to understand our Father in heaven, we have to accept his law. And he goes on to say, I have instructed him in understanding. How did he instruct us in understanding? You got to go back to Genesis, the beginning. Look at the 3 parts of Adam. He is what made up a body, which comes from the earth. He is a living soul, which comes from the breath of Yahuwah. And he has the heart of Yahuwah within him. What is that heart? Genesis chapter 6, verse 3. It is the spirit of Yahuwah, but it's that spirit that made him the Son of God. And through that spirit, it shall give him what? Understanding. 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 51, I believe. Oh no, it's 61. 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 61, I believe. I'll make sure I've written it somewhere. Okay? But let us keep reading. But now because he transgressed wickedly, yea, just on this ground that he knows about it, he shall be tormented. So, in this life, we are to go through torment because of our transgressions. Because again, what did he point out? Because he transgressed wickedly. Okay? All right? And it's the reason why the Father wants you to experience this now. Again, I'm telling you, the Father is, what's the word I can say? He is greater at what he do. Okay? chapter 7. And as regards what you did say touching the righteous, that on account of them has this world come, so also again shall that which is to come on their account. Do you hear that? So with the righteous, their world is coming of what he had prepared, that was already established since the beginning of time. For this world is to them a strife and a labor with much trouble, and that according which is to come a crown with great glory. You want to highlight that sentence. Now you are seeing, beginning to understand in this world why we have troubles, evils. Okay? Again, this world is not your home. You have to endure long suffering. And through that long suffering, it shall bring a greater reward unto you. Okay? A crown of glory that shall never fade away. So Baruch go on and say, I answered and said, O YAHUAH, my Lord, lo, the years of this time are few and evil. And who is able in his little time to acquire that which is measureless? And YAHUAH answered and said unto me, with the most high account is not taking of time nor a few years. Now you want to underline that, because he's telling Baruch that you can't measure this. Okay? Because it's not based upon time or a few years. All right? In other words, you can't use that type of measurement for what the Father has planned. I'm going to repeat this sentence again. With the most high account is not taking of time nor of a few years. For what did it profit Adam that he lived 930 years and transgressed that which was commanded? Therefore the multitude of time that he lived did not profit him. So in other words, even though he lived 930 years, it did not benefit him. And you're going to see why. You know, and right here, see, he had a multitude of time. And I probably need to rephrase what I said earlier. So let me go back to 16 and read this again. The years of this time are few and evil. And who is able in his little time to acquire that which is measureless? Okay. So what the Father is saying, that to acquire this is not really based on time nor of a few years. He's going to give you what the answer is in this. So he's used Adam for example. So as we see here, Adam lived 930 years, and he goes on to say that in those 930 years, it did not profit him. And he's going to give you the reason why now. But brought death and cut off the years of those who was born from him. For those who are familiar with the scriptures, Shalom says, we are aware that his children, as time went on, their years of life was decreased. Okay? Wherein then Moses suffered loss in that he lived only 120 years. And inasmuch he was subject to him who formed him, brought the law to the seed of Jacob, and lighted a lamp for the nation of Israel. And I answered and said, he that lighteth was taken from the light, and there are but few that had imitated him. But those many whom he has lighted has taken from the darkness of Adam, and have not rejoiced in the light of the lamp. Again, you understand who that light is, because that light is the, how did the Bible worded it? That light is the one who was the tabernacle of witness. Okay? So when we look at that light, some scriptures to read on that is 1 John chapter 5, John chapter 1, John chapter 9 verse 5, Signs, the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 105. Again, who is that light? That light, it was with our Father since the beginning of creation. So let me go back and read 17, looking at the latter part of the sentence, starting with in as much he was subject to him who formed him. So he was what? Under the one who created him. And Moses brought the law to the seed of Jacob. Again, what we read earlier, higher up, that in order to understand his judgments, you got to receive his law. Because through Torah, which means instructions, which the word today called the law, when you study that book, you begin to understand the Father and why these things are permitted. So you begin to tap into the mysteries. Okay? So Moses brought the law to the seed of Jacob and lighted a lamp for the nation of Israel. Again, you think about who is that one that is the light. Okay? Does not the word say that the word would be a lamp unto our feet? He is the light of the world. He is the one that can bring man from darkness into the light. So when we look at verse 18, when I read a part of this sentence, it says, but those many whom he has lighted has taken from the darkness of Adam and have not rejoiced in the light of the lamp. In other words, they have not submitted to the Spirit. They have not received the salvation and the righteousness of Yah. And because they have not received it or submit themselves unto it, they shall remain in darkness, what Adam brought in himself today on the day that he transgressed. Now let's look at 19. And he answered and said unto me, wherefore at that time he appointed for them a covenant and said, behold, I have a place before you, life and death. And he called heaven and earth to witness against them. You want to highlight that. I'm telling y'all, the Most High creation is a witness. They can be a testimony unto our Father in heaven. In other words, they can make a report. When you understand the relationship between the three witnesses in the earth and the three witnesses in the heavens, do you understand why how the heaven and the earth can be a witness against the children of Israel? All things created by the Father can report back unto him. Is not his spirit in the earth? Another mystery. Okay. Behold, I have placed before you life and death, and he called heaven and earth to witness against them. For he knew that his time was but short, but that heaven and earth endure always. Do you hear that? Heaven and earth endure always. And we can hear, this should remind you about many of the sayings of the prophets dealing with the sun and the moon and the children of Israel. How they would never be as long as those lights exist, they would never be destroyed or put away. But the heaven and earth endure always. But after his death, they sinned and transgressed, though they knew that they had the law reproving them, and the light in which nothing could err. Also the spirits which testify in me. So after Moses, the children of Israel transgressed greatly. Okay. Now we're going to look at 4. Now reading everything that is, it is I that judge, but do not you take counsel in your soul regarding these things, nor afflict thyself because of those which have been. Do you hear that, Israelites? You want to listen to this. For now is the consummation of time that should be considered. So we need to consider these completion of time, whether of business, whether of prosperity, whether of shame, and not the beginning thereof. Because if a man be prosperous in his beginnings, and shamefully entreated in his old age, he forgets all the prosperity that he had. In other words, if he was punished in the beginning, in other words, if he was made to be what successful, and people have many definitions of what success is, they think of riches, glory, fame, etc. If he was successful in his beginning, but then in his old age or in his golden years, he was shameful, in other words, punished, then he would forget about his success that he had gained in the days of his youth. Okay? And again, if a man is shamefully entreated in his beginnings, and at his end is prosperous, he remembers not again his evil entreatment. Now, y'all want to highlight that because it's telling us something deep here. You will see it's better to be chastened or better to be put ashamed in the beginning, because in the end, as they say, the sun would come up. You will no longer have gloomy days. So I would rather receive prosperity at the end than the beginning. And again, hearken, though each one would prosper all the time from the day on which death was decreed against those who transgress, and in his end was destroyed. In vain would have been everything. I need to read that again, y'all. And again, hearken. So listen, though each one was prosperous all that time, so each one was prosperous all that time, that means successful, wealthy, or famous, all the time from the day on which death was decreed against those who transgress. So he's talking about those who are in transgression against him. Okay? And in his end was destroyed. In vain would have been everything. So all that prosperity that they had was in vain. This is something we need to meditate on, because even myself, based on the signs in the heaven and the earth, I can see what is coming. So I have a very different outlook on things. The things in the days of my youth that I desire, I no longer desire. I no longer have a delight in them. So I look at things very differently now. For example, I use this. A couple of years ago, I had a heart desire to have a tiny home, a home that was transportable. But as things progressed, that was not the path my father wanted me to go on. And I was able to give that up, y'all. I didn't cry about it. I didn't whine. I didn't get upset. I didn't get angry. But I understood now. Because based on the signs of the time, I know what is coming. The days of building, or the days of going after, certain things that we have planned in our life, it's about to change now. So the Father was letting me know, prepare your heart. The change is coming. So that way I would not be bitter. That way I won't be like my ancestors were when he brought them out of Egypt. That way I would have a heart for him, a delight in what is coming, because I understood why it has to come. Because I understand that the new kingdom has to come. So in order for the new kingdom to have to come, if it's meant for me not to have the tiny home, then so be it. I rejoice in that, because what is coming will be so greater than a tiny home. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. But let us continue. Zion has been taken away to hasten the advent of the judgment. So Zion has been taken away to hasten the arrival of the judgment. Now we get into a deep mystery here. You want to highlight that, because this part right here reminds me of, Let's see, can I find it? Here you go. Matthew chapter 24, verse 22. Remember, did he not say, but for the elect's sake, he shall shorten the days? Okay. So, I'm sorry, I was a step ahead, but Matthew chapter 24, verse 22. We're going to relate to the verses we're going to read here. But notice here, he said he's going, once Zion has been desolated, the hasting or speedily the arrival of judgment shall come. So, based on what is happening now, Shalom, where I'm at, I cannot finish what I plan to finish this evening. I was trying to get to 40, but anyway, I'm going to read this last part and we're going to end here for tonight. And then maybe later on this weekend, we can pick up the rest. Okay, it says here, therefore, behold, the days come, and the time shall hasten more than the former. And the seasons shall spin, and the seasons shall speed on more than those that are past. And the years shall pass more quickly than the present years. Therefore have I now taken away Zion. Do you hear that? That I may the more speedily visit the world in its season. Now therefore hold fast in your heart everything that I command you, and seal it in the recesses of your mind. And then I will show you the judgment of my might and my ways, which are unsearchable. So I will pause here tonight, and we're going to pick up chapter 20. All right, my brothers and sisters, continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10, and baptize them in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. So be it.